very short, will not be too long. But I want to come over here. These flags, of course, I don't have to explain them to all of you. But this one we made just specifically for the walk, and we're using 22 feathers up there, and that's actually how many walks I've been involved in since 1968, 78 rather, when the first longest walk took place, and that was from Washington, from Alcatraz to Washington D.C. And we covered 13 states and took 5.5 months. So actually every walk now I know we can get there in 5.5 months if we extend it out a little bit. But I also know we can run that in 101 days. We did that in 96, running from from Los Angeles to Atlanta. And we got there during the Olympics, 1996. But there was a number of runners, they're here now, who ran on that historic run. One of them is our captain, still in the audience here. Is Kid still here? No. Oh, thought he was in here. Oh, and on this walk, on this particular walk, I want to say it began as when we were doing the reverse diabetes. I'm a diabetic, by the way, and I've also been very close to a diet that I've been medication free for 8.5 years. I've never really got involved with the insulin, and it doesn't bother me. I don't bother that. So it sits over there waiting and calling my name, but I will never use it. So I might drop dead tomorrow on some other reason, but it won't be diabetes. So this one is, we're carrying this for Fred Short, who is a diabetic. He's on dialysis, but he was one of our great long distance runners, running 50 miles at a single time. And he didn't, when we started doing the running events, the idea was when the Elder Circle met up in Vancouver, I was there, and they were talking about getting messages from village to village. Could we take a message from village to village without any cars, bicycles, or trains, or anything else? And so we wanted to find out. And so the elders gave me that responsibility of trying to find out if we can get back to running events, even when we have all the cars and all the transportation available. And so we began running. And the first one was a 500-mile run from DQ University to California, south of California. And that run continues today, 500 miles. But I took it on the road. I took the running very serious, and I took it on the road and asking runners to join with us as we crisscrossed the country, as we went to Japan, as we went to Australia and New Zealand, as we went to Russia and 16 European countries, beginning with London and Paris, or France, then zigzagging around the Baltic states. And even when Russia, some of the 6 nations, people were traveling on their own passport, which was all the immigration officers in every place that we went crossing the customs, they took pictures of those passports. Now, when he was alive, Thomas Banyaka, a Hopi elder, traveled with a deer cloth, and on there was his name and his clan and part of the Hopi Nation. That's what he carried with him. And every time we went through customs, he would unroll this fine-looking cloth, and there was all kinds of stamps on it in different countries who recognized Banyaka's stature, and also they recognized the kind of passport that they had. The Six Nations still travel today on their own passports, while the rest of us, we've kind of acquiesced a lot to the U.S. government, and now we have to travel, on passports that they issue. Whereas even today, in the Six Nations, they issue their own passports. So the sovereignty of the Six Nations is very, very much different. And I was there for a year and a half, and I saw them deliver, the state of New York, deliver about 500 pounds of salt, and 100 pounds of bacon, and about 500 pounds of flour, and about 5 big rolls of calico cloth. Those were what was promised the Six Nations by the state of New York. And so every year, the state of New York delivers what they promised. They also built a school at Onondaga. So in this country, we see different forms of sovereignty. Oh, by the way, I'm getting used to see these shoes I got yesterday. We visited E-Coil?
Z-Coil. Z-Coil.
Yeah, Z. Is it Z?
Z.
So that's what they got a coil in the heel. So there's no impact. I've been walking around on. There's no actual impact on the heel at all. There's just a little spring effect. So if you see me kind of bouncing around up here, the coil is still going. So I was in Montana. I said I was going to be short, but it's really getting strung out now. I was in Montana 2 years ago on reversing diabetes, and I was talking to them about a strict plan they should be on, otherwise they're going to start cutting off legs. 56,000 amputations last year in Indian country, fingers and hands and wrists, toes. So it's still a very threat to us. I was telling them about a diet that I was on. I'm not a vegetarian, but I take a lot of veggies. And this lady came up to me, she says, Mr. Banks, she says, there's something up here more deadly to us than diabetes. So, and it's the fine diet you're on, but there's something else we're worried about. She said it was meth. And I've known about drugs and meth all my life. I've never moved in that direction, but I was not really I didn't know what did drugs do to a person. I've never tried no marijuana. But I got more involved as we crossed Montana. There was a resolution that was on the floor when we visited the tribal council. And that resolution is that they were ousting some member of the tribe because he was making meth at his home. And the home was owned by the tribe. And they passed the resolution, and they went after him. We stuck around, and we were supposed to be running that next morning, but I said, let's see what's going to happen. So they took they call them marshals, but they're security. Took the marshals out there, and then they handed the guy it was a order to vacate the premises. And he was going to fight it. He said, no, I'm not leaving. We didn't stay around all that much, but he did leave. And they had to burn the house because making meth, even the fumes that get against the wall, get in the curtains, get in your clothing. The children the two children there, they were having very funny things were happening to them. They were getting dizzy, and they took them to the hospital, and the kids were now they're addicted to meth. They weren't taking it, but it was in their clothing, it was in their skin, so they had to go to the hospital and be taken care of. That was part of then my motive to declare war on drugs. I still didn't know what drugs was all about, so then something happened last October 19th, in my family, which then we included domestic violence. And that was when my granddaughter was strangled to death, and when the police came to look for her, she said, "Oh yeah, she was here a while ago, and she dropped the kids off, and she got in the blue van, she left, and everybody was looking for her. She was in the basement. She had been in there, she'd been down in the basement tied up. She had been there at least for 9 hours, she was still alive." So I know for a fact that the first, when you start looking for somebody, if you notice there's something they're missing, that 24 hours is the only 24 hours you're going to get. She was still alive when they came there, but later on she was strangled to death, and she was taken. The police gave us some video later on of the guy, ex-boyfriend, buying 200 plates of styrofoam and a 5-gallon can of gas. He went to Walmart, he got the video of that. And he dug a shallow grave, got 2 people to help him, and crushed up the styrofoam, poured 5 gallons of gasoline on her, burned her. And I just, if I say it fast, I can say it fast, because it's still hard. And domestic violence is people were saying he was an animal, and I said, no, animals are good people. I said, don't equate him with an animal. He's a subhuman. And now he's trying to negotiate for a deal. He wants a deal. But they asked the family, and I said, no, not for me. There's no deal. No deal at all. But there's more to this, but I know that domestic violence is a major issue in our homes, your homes, my home. Drug abuse, even prescription drugs. That's where a lot of mess comes from, the prescription drugs. There's all kinds of new concoctions that they're making, drinking. But I asked my friend Orlando, come on over. Did he leave?
No, he's here.
Oh. I said I just want to, our national coordinator, Orlando.
I know they're on the schedule here, and I'm going to make it really short. This walk is going viral all over the United States, Canada, and Mexico. We had Kumeyays come from Mexico and walk with us through California. And the main thing that happened to me that I'm kind of like still in shock about was going to the youth authority yesterday and talking to the kids, talking to the gang members, telling them a history of gangs in California, how they started, how they're using people, how they don't have to be in gangs, they're natives. When I go to prison, I run native. I stay by myself, but I'm the only native. I don't need nobody to hang with. I'm native and I run by myself. I don't need to run with nobody. I don't really need to run no gangs. And I told them these gangs will recognize that strength, and they will recognize who you are, and they will leave you alone. And these people were on the edge of their seats and they were listening. One girl said, my tribe is involved in longest walks, And she said, I'm Miwok from California. And I said, yes, I know your people. That's Wounded Knee. And they told us that she tried to commit suicide the week before she was hanged. They found her hanging, and they revived her. So there's many more stories like that that we could speak about, but those stories right there yesterday, it really touches my heart, you know, because my son, he left rehab yesterday, and we did a radio interview today, and I said, you know, I wish there was somebody to speak to my kids the way I'm speaking to these kids. So maybe you'll hear it on the radio, on NativeAmericaCalling.com Monday, and maybe he'll change by listening to me trying to change somebody else. I want to thank all of you for your support. We got a runner that just came in from Colorado. Her and her brother, they're going to run with us for a week. And it's things like that to give us strength. Thank you, everybody.